Good evening. First I want to say thank you to Kirsten. We wouldn't be able to do any of this work without her or her law firm, who, as she's mentioned, is working with us pro bono to help dig into these issues. The Marine Precinct kind of kicked it off because it was such an interesting deal, and I'm really lucky that I got to meet Kirsten and we've become really good friends. And if anyone gets to know her for who she is, not what the media says, she's an incredible woman. So thanks, Kirsten, and I could have listened to that even longer. So I know everyone's thinking that I'm here to talk about the Marine Precinct sale, and you're right, I will, but I have been given strict instructions from my lawyer that they're looking for anything they can get to, that I'll say wrong. So when I say things wrong, John Robson pulls me up on some stuff with numbers, so I'm not going to do that. But while I can't speak on the deal itself, I can talk about the system that allowed it to happen, and why you ratepayers need to start paying a hell of a lot more attention. And this kind of goes into what Kirsten said, but I think for me, I started getting involved in politics not because I have any interest in it at all, but because my husband, well actually, hold on, I just remembered. I'll show you a little bit of how I got into politics. It's a very quick video and it'll sum it up, and it'll also show you why I was surprised that the Marine Precinct was sold, because I thought that the council and I were working very well together. I was on a Marine Precinct advisory group, and there was supposed to be no developments happening without it coming through this group. So you can imagine the shock when we had just been told that these wharves were being built, and then we get pulled into a meeting in May, and then we were told that it had been sold, and it was unconditional, and there was nothing we could do about it. So I guess we'll find out if that's true or not. So we're still waiting on judgment. But after that happens, I'd love to come back and spill the tea. Oh.
And I pointed that way.
That's the Marine Precinct.
How about yeah, Margaret.
You become interested in politics when decisions made by other people directly impact your life or someone that you care about.
Sounds so weird. No.
For us, it started when our daughter was diagnosed with autism in 2014. So I left my corporate job, which was the main source of income for our family, and my husband and I became small business owners. But while we were busy working, the council was busy planning. It took me 4 years and a lot of money we didn't have to fight and navigate a bureaucratic system that seemed designed to make you give up. When I started this journey in 2016, I represented over 25 small businesses being forced to close or leave our city. But while I was dealing with local council, my daughter's school was facing a different challenge. A challenge with central government. And in 2018, I was co-opted to the school board to help them raise their profile and address their funding issues in education.
I wish that I could feel the sun without casting a shadow.
This is Big Supplementary question. Is Greaton Village School Board Chairperson and parent Erika Harvey wrong when she says there's really no rhyme or reason why we were left out? We have 140 children on our learning registry. I'm going to have to choose between health and safety or following the law of inclusion. It's ridiculous. Mr. Speaker,
Can you show me what you're doing on the board?
More than a quarter of the 400 kids at Greaton Village School need extra help in the classroom, but the area won't be getting one of the new learning support coordinators next year.
We have 24 ORS funded kids. Of those, we have 140 children on our learning registry.
The new role's designed to identify kids in need and make getting help easier. But Erika Harvey says the criteria for getting one was unfair and the school's in desperate need.
But this story is the story of many. And that is when you realize we have a big problem. But in order to make change, you first have to understand what needs to change. But in order to really understand people and politicians, I decided to run a few campaigns. I've learned a lot on this journey, but my key takeaway was, you don't have to be a politician to create change. You just need to create a bridge so that everyday Kiwis and politicians have an easier way to collaborate and work together. And that is what Lobby for Good is for.
So there you go. That was an easy background. So I got involved in politics, and I think this is why most people get involved, is that decisions are made that affect you personally, affect someone that you love or you care about. And so I created Lobby for Good because I've been on both sides. It's not a political campaign. I'm not affiliated with any parties, and I'm not running in 2026, just so you know that. So we'll get that out of the way. But we exist because too many people feel shut out of decision making. You pay your bills, but you're the last to know where your money's going. And I've stood on both sides of the system, inside politics and on the outside. And I really believed in changing the system from within. That's why I ran. I'm really passionate about, I come from an innovation and technology background, and I love pulling people together that all think differently to solve problems. That's where I think there's so much beauty. And so I had this idea that if I could run, then I could get in there and I could change it and, you know, make things better, get people to work together and see that it's beautiful that we all think differently. But what I learned is when you join a political party, I think there's more power when you join local government because you actually can speak for yourself. When you join a party, you have to toe that party line. And so the system in that sense, to me, as I've seen it this way, it really thrives on like silence and kind of that pack mentality. And so that's really the last thing we need. And that's why I'm not running in any more elections. And that's why I'm really passionate about growing Lobby for Good, because I want to take the issues that the community have, use the networks and the relationships that I have, so that we can start to make some progress. Because I actually do believe now, more than anything, it is absolutely who you know. And lucky for me, the journey's kind of introduced me to a lot of people, and I know a lot of them. And to me, that's been an amazing journey. So that's kind of why I developed this. I realized when I fought the Marine Precinct the first time, I couldn't get a lawyer. We approached 34 law firms, and all of them told us there was a conflict of interest with the city council. I even went to one in Nelson. And then I did find one here, and we went to 3 meetings, but all 3 times she never showed up and was always late. So we sat outside her office in the Mount. And so I don't know if that was just because she didn't want to tell me that she also wanted to take me because of a conflict of interest. And I ran in 2019 because, because we had just paid $100,000 for a consultant. I spoke with every single elected member. Stuart was the mayor at the time, but he was on his way out when I first met Stuart Crosby. And I found it disheartening that to actually, when there's a real issue, you can't find anyone to support you, no one will listen to you. And then I wound up finding emails that council were telling other people that if they talk to me, that they're going to basically punish them. And I'm seeing that again this time as well, because they start to twist the narrative and they put everything against you. And you know, we've seen it, it's tough. I have a youth charity. I'm the general manager of a youth charity called Youth Voices Action. I've got emails from the council basically telling people not to fund us because I'm a problem. And that's not the kids' fault, you know, and all I'm actually trying to do is teach people how to advocate for themselves and have a voice. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I'm really concerned about your rates. And I've spoken to John Robson, and John, I'll apologize, I didn't get to run these numbers by you because I just came out at 5:30, so feel free to jump in if I'm wrong. But in 2018, the average rate bill was around $2,500. It jumped to $2,800, and this year you're looking at about $3,400. And if this pace keeps up, we're looking at $5,000 for average home by 2030. Would that be accurate, John?
I think that's low.
Yeah, the figures, and Glenn, as I say, you double checked on this, but the figures we did for the 24-34 LTP showed sort of median residential rates around the $3,700 mark. And by 2034, you can multiply that figure by 2.2, and that increase was confirmed by council staff following the election. Unfortunately, the council staff chose to stay silent during the election when those figures were challenged by people that wound up being elected. But the figures confirmed by council staff are the median rates are around $3,700 in 2024 and will be over $8,000, 2.2 times 3.4. 7.4 plus 0.74, 8.14, $8,100 in 2034. And remember, that doesn't include Stewart's regional council rates. Stewart will probably be chair of the regional council at that point, so you can blame him, talk to him about it.
Thanks, Stu.
Start talking to him about it now, actually, before he leaves the meeting tonight. Hi, Stu.
So I guess the first question I have is, are you feeling the benefit of your rate rise? Because I sure as hell don't. They're just not keeping up, even if you look at, and the council debt's exploding. We were looking at numbers around Christchurch. Christchurch was literally flattened by an earthquake, and they still managed to have better debt ratios than Tauranga. So that is shocking to me. And here's the kicker, councils can use your future payments as collateral to get loans from banks. So that's why I wanted to talk about this rate cap, and LG and Z, they're really pushing, they don't want that to happen, and I will kind of explain what I think that could be about. And I'd also like to recognize Tracy Coxhead and Margaret Marie Bench, councillors who they've just exited LG and Z from Western Bay. So I really worried.
Point it that way. There we go.
So one of the things that has stood out is that when Ian Tully was the commissioner, we were told that we would never, the max we would pay for Te Manawataki o Te Papa was $151 million, and the rest was going to be covered in partnership. But I was reading Glenn's Substack, and that's not accurate. And I think now we're looking at paying 93% as what we're going to be covering for Te Manawataki o Te Papa. So it's a huge debt.
As it, just to be clear, as it stands, it's not the end of the story. There's still more attempts to raise funds, so anything's possible.
Glenn, you want to grab?
Stand up and then I can film you, please.
Just to be really clear,
Thank you.
this is as it stands right at today, but
It's an ice cream.
Oh, it's an ice cream, is it? Oh, okay. As it is right now, it's around that percentage, but there are attempts to raise more funding from central government, from local philanthropic and other donations, but there is a plan to fund the rest primarily through asset sales. So therefore, the question is, where will it end up? We don't know yet because we haven't made those decisions.
Thank you. I've got a basic question. I don't speak Maori. What are you talking about?
Yeah. If you're going to, you want to.
So actually, I would find that quite clear. I don't speak Maori. What on earth are you talking about? What is that little up there?
The Civics, the new Civic Center.
The what?
Is it the Civic Center?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
it's
Tauranga Council o Te Papa was the beating heart of Te Papa.
Is it a building? Is it a boat? Is it a what?
It's a set of buildings.
A set of buildings in Tauranga.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you for translating.
Yes. So, speaking of assets being sold off, so one of the things that we learned in the Marine Precinct, which I can talk about because it was a public forum, was that when they sold it for well below the value, they didn't actually put it towards the debt on the Marine Precinct. They were funneling that money to that new Civic Center, which meant that the debt was going to stay there that we pay interest on. So one of the good things that we did do on the 23rd of October, and Glenn, thanks for moving that resolution, was we actually had the debt from the sale, if it goes through, will be going against the debt at the Marine Precinct instead of being funneled to another capital project. So here's some examples of the different sales in the commissioners, which is why, I agree with both Glenn and, oh gosh,
Stuart.
no, not Stuart.
John.
Steve, thank you. Steve Morris, that we need an independent inquiry, because I think when you look at the kind of asset sales that we've had, they don't really match up. And then if you combine that with this work that Kirsten's been doing with us, it actually is even more scary. So I'll let you look at those, the elder housing, which is what Kirsten had spoke about. And then there was another elder housing vision of the village in 2022. 7 villages worth $41.6 million, offloaded for 17.2. So, I mean, even if you support social housing, can we at least get value for money? That's, I think, all we're asking. And I also, I don't mind development. I would love to live in a bustling city where everything is beautiful and new and there are people going there. But I also think, you know, if you look at the